Not every crash out is created equal. Some feel completely earned, whereas others don't make any sense. And today, we're covering both. These are the best and worst crash outs in animated movies, starting with one of the most valid crash outs. Joy from Because Joy has been running Riley's emotional world for her entire life, and that alone is enough to understand why she's completely burned out. For all 13 years, Joy has been the one making sure everything stays functional. She is the reason the system works. While the other emotions get to react, complain, panic, or argue, Joy is the one carrying the pressure of holding the whole thing together. She does not get to be tired or get to be wrong. Her entire identity is built around making sure Riley is okay. So when anxiety takes over headquarters and pushes Joy and the others out, Joy is not just lose control of the console, she loses her role in Riley. And that hits her in the worst way possible because if she is not the one in charge, then she does not really know who she is anymore. That is why her crash out feels so real. It is not just frustration, it is an identity crisis. And honestly, it gets even worse when anger, fear, and disgust are all standing there criticizing her. They are frustrated too, but in that moment, it just adds more pressure to someone who is already overloaded. Then anger calls her delusional. That well, then she's delusional. And that is the exact point where everything cracks because that word is not just an insult in that moment. It is a direct attack on the one thing Joy has been sacrificing herself to protect her belief that things can still be okay. That optimism was never ignorance, it was a choice she kept making every single day under insane pressure. So when she finally explodes, it is not because she is being irrational, it is because she is exhausted, scared, and completely out of options. And what makes this crash out valid is that she does not even try to think she breaks open the fist the truth. Yes, she is tired. Yes, she has been holding it together. Yes, it has been hard. For the first time, the man and underneath the toxic positivity is just someone who has been carrying too much for too long. Joy broke because she was under too much pressure, but Magnifico from Wish breaks the second things that come his way. Magnifico's crash out could literally be one of the worst narcissistic meltdowns I've ever seen because the moment his ego gets threatened, he turns to dark magic. From the start, he presents himself as this wise, generous ruler who's protecting his people by holding on to their wishes. But the moment people start asking real questions, like when they'll get their wishes back or why he gets to decide everything, cracks begin to show. It's not just the question, it's what it represents. His control living away. All it takes for him to crash out is the emotion of the fall. Now there's something in his kingdom he can't control, can't predict, and can't keep for himself. That uncertainty feeds directly into his paranoia instead of adapting like a real leader that leads him to the forbidden magic. Not out of necessity, he convinces himself that the only way to protect everyone is to become even more powerful, even if it means crossing a line he knows he shouldn't. That's the thing with Magnifico. His charm only works as long as people admire him. The moment that admiration turns into doubt, his entire image starts collapsing. Once he realizes love isn't enough to keep people obedient, he switches to fear because underneath all of that, it's just narcissism with a crown. Magnifico sees himself as a martyr. He believes he sacrificed everything to build this kingdom. So in his mind, everyone owes him blind trust. The second they stop praising him and start demanding transparency, he takes it as a personal attack. Instead of proving them wrong, he proves them right. That's why this crash out is so invalid. Because it's so breaking under pressure. It's so easy to control. The moment his ego is threatened, he's looking to trap, manipulate, and destroy the very dream. And while Magnifico loses control the second he's challenged, Lilo from Stitch snaps for a reason that actually hurts. Lilo's crash out is a valid snap that feels painfully real because this is not just about a random insult. This is about grief. Because by this point, Lilo is already carrying the loss of her mother, and she's trying to honor her by putting everything into the hula competition. She's not just performing. She's trying to hold on to her mother's memory in the only way she knows how. That is a lot for a kid to carry. Most of it's so when Myrtle starts doing it, he's already annoying enough. Myrtle has been bothering Lilo for a long time, calling her weird, creepy, unusual stuff. But then she crosses the line. We know kids can say mean stuff, but this is on a level. This is not teasing anymore. That is wrong. And not You say this to a girl who already beat you up for calling her crazy and has a literal space alien dog. But Myrtle knows exactly what she is doing. She is not just insulting Lilo. She is attacking her deepest insecurity and rubbing salt straight into an open wound. Lilo already fears that she is not like her mother, and Myrtle throws face. That is why her reaction makes so much sense. If it was impressive, she held it together as long as she did. Lilo had tolerated Myrtle's bullying for a long time, but bringing up her dead mother was a line that was too much for her. Suddenly snaps, it is not an easy reaction. It is the honest emotional response to someone saying the worst possible thing at the worst possible time. While Lilo crashes out protecting something she lost, Hal from Megamind snaps because he didn't get. Hey, whoa. Since the time you play the game, game over. Hal's crash out is different because it was intentional and technically it's understandable on the surface level. But it's still one of the worst once you look at the full picture. Yes, Mega Man manipulating with his heart. The important thing is Hal was already a problem before any of that happened. He was never some innocent, misunderstood guy who only turned bad because of one reveal. Even after getting his powers and becoming Titan, he was just abusing them for selfish reasons. He did not want to save the city out of duty. He was using the role to impress Roxanne. He treated heroism as a transaction. Basically, if I do this, I get to do it. And that is the real issue. He was never invested in doing the right thing. He wasn't trying to be a good person. He was trying to get rewarded for acting like one. When he finds out that Bernard was actually Megamind and then had been spending Hal doesn't crash out because of some deep emotional betrayal alone. He crashes out because he feels like his prize got stolen. That is a huge thing. Roxanne had already rejected him. Megamind there was no his girl to begin with. What Hal is really mad about is that his power didn't automatically make him entitled to her attention. That is why his rage feels less like heartbreak and more like entitlement. Bro, what are you talking about? Oh, the delusion on it. The second that ego gets hit, he jumps straight to violence as he literally tries to kill Megamind over it. Once the truth comes out, he doesn't even try to stay good. He immediately drops the hero act and goes straight into it. Tells you everything you need to know. He was never a good guy who snapped under pressure. He was a self guy who finally got enough power to stop pretending. So yeah, his crash out is understandable on a surface level, but as a valid crash out, not really. Where Hal's crash out is pure entitlement, Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda comes from a lifetime expectation. Tai Lung crashing out when he was the Dragon Warrior title is a little more complicated because yes, he absolutely becomes a villain who terrorizes the entire valley. There is no denying. But if you look at the crash out itself, the moment that sends him over the edge is actually very understandable. Tai Lung was raised with one single belief that he was going to be the Dragon Warrior. That was not even his own dream at first. Shifu put that idea in his head as a child, trained him relentlessly, and built his entire sense of purpose around him. Identity, future, his work. All of it was so when Ethan suddenly denies him the Dragon Warrior role, it is not just disappointment. It is his entire life collapsing in real time. Just imagine what that must feel like. Everything he believed he was, everything he worked for, everything he sacrificed for that future. And the worst part is that when Tai Lung turns to Shifu, the man who put this dream in him, he says nothing. He doesn't defend him or explain anything. He just lets it happen. That silence from Shifu turned out to be the last thing he needed to snap. And the reason Tai Lung was rejected is something he never truly understood. He always saw darkness in him, but Tai Lung only saw a future he believed was promised to him. That is not just his failure. That is also a failure of the people who raised him. He was trained to believe he was destined for greatness, but nobody prepared rejection. So when that rejection really comes, it lands like betrayal. Does he snap? Absolutely. Does his rampage go way too far? Of course. He starts attacking innocent people who had nothing to do with the decision, and that. But the initial crash out, the moment he realizes everything has been ripped away from him, that part is down. Years of pressure, expectation, humiliation, and betrayal all hit him at once. That is the kind of emotional explosion that makes sense, even if his actions afterward do not. While Tai Lung's crash out comes from years of conditioning, Syndrome from the Incredible comes from a single moment he just couldn't let go of. Syndrome's crash out in this scene is pure sore loser pettiness because he is actually trying to kidnap an infant as revenge against the family of the man who rejected him years ago. And yeah, Buddy being rejected by his hero is sad at first. That part makes sense. But his backstory isn't an excuse for everything he does, especially when it goes this far. The problem is he never stops at being hurt. He turns that hurt into a full-on obsession. What makes Syndrome's crash out so pathetic is that his entire villain identity is built in childhood courage. He was never just angry at Mr. Incredible. He became obsessed with proving that the world made a mistake by not choosing him. So instead of moving on, learning from it, who spends you learning to admit to Mr. Incredible. In the process, he lures and keeps weapons real heroes just so we can eventually pretend to be one. That is where it stops being sympathetic and starts being pathetic. By the time he reaches the far's home to kidnap Jack Jack, that obsession is all that's left. His whole master plan is already collapsing under his arrogance, and he still can't handle it. He acts like some brilliant mastermind, but underneath it all, he's still the same bitter kid, the same whiny kid who couldn't handle not being chosen. So when he goes after Jack Jack, he's no longer just a bitter former fan. He's willing to kidnap an infant to get revenge on a family that had nothing to do with his emotional immaturity. That is not a valid response to being rejected at all. Crash out is fully invalid. He's crashing out because his military revenge plan and he refuses to accept defeat. Instead of moving on with his life, he chooses to become the worst possible version of himself. And while Syndrome is still clinging to a rejection years later, Ken's about to lose it over.
That's funny. I just can't seem to recall that.
Ken's that's played like a joke. The emotional logic behind it is actually pretty. At this point, Barry, a bee, the one thing Ken is literally allergic to, has been spending way too much time around his girlfriend, Vanessa. He's been in their space, facing the really hanging around the apartment and acting like he belongs there. Then Ken comes over and sees this bee sitting in his place at the dinner table, using his razor and acting like it's completely normal. That alone is enough to make people lose it. Add the fact that Barry is having a romantic dinner with Ken's girlfriend, and suddenly this stops being full-blown feeling of being replaced. What makes it worse is that Vanessa is completely comfortable with it, which makes Ken feel like he's the only one reacting normally in a situation that is objectively insane. That's what makes the crash out understandable. Ken isn't just angry because Vanessa is paying attention to someone else. He's spiraling because the whole situation feels like a total violation of his space, his relationship. He's sitting there watching a creature that could literally kill him. Nobody seems to think that's strange. When he goes after Barry in the bathroom with a magazine and a lighter, it's ridiculous, sure, but it's also desperate. It's not just about forcing some kind of control back into a situation where he's completely lost it. He's putting his place in the relationship and his dignity. Is he dramatic? Absolutely. Is he handling it well? Not even close. But the feeling underneath it, being ignored, replaced, and pushed out of your own relationship, it's something people actually relate to. The fact that the intruder is a bee just makes it funnier. It doesn't make me he's scared of being replaced. And Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph very confusing to be replaced.
You! I'm not hot! That's the word! What? I'm gonna take it away!
Turbo crashing out in front of everyone is a major part of it. An explosion of ego, fueled by a refusal to accept that the world. His backstory tells you exactly what pushed him to the edge in the first place. He was once the star of Turbo Time, the most popular racing game in the arcade. When a new game called Road Blasters was plugged in next to his, he became consumed with jealousy over his fate. He couldn't handle someone else getting attention, so he abandoned his own game and invaded that one. Then he crashed that game too, getting both unplugged. Still, he didn't stop there. He took over Sugar Rush, rewrote its code, tampered with the game's memory of Penelope's true role, and acted like he was the noble protector of the system. But the truth is, none of that was ever his to begin with. He invaded the game, stole control, and then tried to pretend he was maintaining freedom. That's a greedy, selfish freak out from someone who can't not be in the center of attention. He even screams that Ralph and Penelope are taking away his kingdom when he had already hijacked Sugar Rush and illegally overtook years earlier. Turbo sees newer games as a personal attack because he believes that he should recall. That's why the original Turbo Tastic disaster happened in the first place, and that same toxic pattern leads him straight to Sugar Rush. He doesn't adapt to change. He doesn't accept the replaced. Instead, he tries to erase whatever outshines him. When he gets exposed, the crash out gets even worse. He's willing to let Vanilla even try to destroy her himself just to keep control of the game. That's not someone having a justified emotion. It's a villain trying to destroy a child. finally has a chance to reclaim her. Already bullied her, isolated her, and made her feel like a glitch for years. So when she finally gets the chance to take back her place in the game, he tries to erase her completely. In the end, Turbo's crash out is just a violent rejection of reality. He would rather kill a game than let it succeed without him as the star, making his crash out one of the worst in an animated movie. Some characters are accused of going too far, but some it's just like there. These are the most valid. The moment he snaps on Wonderland and goes full fury.
You little pouchy cheek.
This one hits different when you realize what Wolf was actually trying to do. Wolf wasn't faking being good. He genuinely wanted to change. For the first time in his life, he thought maybe he didn't have to be the villain everyone expected him to be. He believed in it. He trusted Marmalade. He put everything on the line because he truly thought someone finally saw him as more than just the big bad wolf. And Marmalade didn't just betray him, he humiliated him. Wolf's entire arc is about fighting the assumption that he's a villain. Society sees a wolf and immediately sees a criminal. It doesn't matter what he does. Was he tried to prove him wrong. He chose to be good, and that choice is exactly what Marmalade used to destroy him. Marmalade frames Wolf so perfectly that everyone instantly believes it. Of course they do. He's a big bad wolf. They were waiting for him to mess up. And the worst part is Marmalade isn't just evil. He's smug about it. Boys watching Wolf realize the truth. That's what triggers Wolf over the edge. Because it's one thing to be betrayed, it's another thing entirely to be betrayed by someone who takes pleasure. So when Wolf snaps and lunges at him, it's not just anger, it's years of being judged, years of trying to do better, and years of realizing the system was never going to let him exploding all that wasn't a relapse. It was an act of being punished for doing the right thing. Think about it. Your whole life, people say you're dangerous, that you're a law. Then someone comes along and makes you believe you can change, that you can be better than what everyone says, and then you find out the truth. They used you. They needed someone to blame, and they chose you because everyone believed you were guilty. Come on, that's enough to make anyone lose. Wolf didn't snap because he was evil. He snapped because he trusted the wrong person. Someone who's already hurting, it gets a lot darker. Which brings us to someone who didn't just lose trust; he lost his entire family.
So it was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Because Hero telling Baymax to destroy Callahan would be the most violent crash out in animated movie history. And the violence is genuinely emotional. This kid had every reason to snap. But let's be real, Hero was 14. 14. That's barely high school age. And by the time we reach that scene, he's already lost both his parents, watched his older brother die in a fire, spent weeks drowning in grief he doesn't know how to deal with, and then discovers the man responsible for all of it was someone they trusted. Someone Tadashi looked up to. Someone who watched Hero's brother run into a burning building to save him and just never. Yeah. When Hero brings out Baymax's healthcare chip and tells him to destroy Callahan, that's not a human arc. That's a breakthrough. And honestly, you can't blame him. Hero is just a kid, but he's carrying trauma most adults would struggle to handle. He loses his parents at a young age. So right from the start, he's dealing with a level of grief most people don't face until much later in life. Then Tadashi dies. And Tadashi isn't he's his role. So he finally has a purpose. It's the answers to all this reinvention. Because the person behind it all isn't some random villain. It's Professor Callahan. And actually, so the hero learns the truth that betrayed him. Tadashi didn't die. He died in the and he staged the it's still a hero's invention. That means Tadashi's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a waste. He died for people who didn't deserve it. But what really makes Hero care isn't just discovering Callahan. It's what Callahan says when Hero confronts him.
There's slave you. That was his mistake.
This man shows zero guilt, zero remorse. Like Tadashi's life didn't matter. Like his sacrifice meant nothing. And when Callahan dismisses Tadashi like he was nothing, all the grief Hero's been bottling up, all that pain, confusion, and rage has nowhere else to go. Sure, Callahan lost his daughter, that's tragic, but using that loss as an excuse to put an entire city in danger and to dismiss the life of a kid who died trying to save you, that's not grief. That's cruelty. And that's what makes Hero's rage feel less like the loss of control and more like the only reasonable response. Because if anyone in animated movie history deserved a crash out, it was Hero, a 14-year-old orphan with unprocessed trauma, a stolen invention, a dead brother, and a villain who looked him in the eye and said, yeah, valid reason. And do you know what else is valid? Bob throwing his boss through a wall because he had it coming. Bob's entire identity was taken from him. Being a superhero, it was who he was. Saving people was his life. And then the world made it illegal. Imagine being the best at something you were born to do. You in society that's meant you to figure something. Bob's life superhero. So instead of saving lives, he's stuck working in an insurance company, which is already depressing. But it's not just insurance, it's a system designed to deny people help. His job is to find reasons not to cover claims, to actively screw over vulnerable people. He goes from pulling people out of burning buildings to telling them their medical bills won't be covered, and Bob tries to make it work. He even risks his job to help that old lady navigate the system so she doesn't lose everything. Because deep down, he's still a hero. But his boss is the total opposite. His boss represents everything wrong with the system. He's not just enforcing policy, he's cruel about it. He pressures Bob to follow procedures that hurt people instead of helping them. Then comes the breaking point. Bob sees a man getting mugged right outside the window. His instincts kick in. He's halfway out of his chair. And his boss tells him to sit down. Don't intervene. Don't help. Just let it happen. That moment breaks him because it proves the world doesn't just want him to stop being a hero. It wants him to stop caring. So when his boss threatens to fire him for caring too much,
Break that off, or you're fired!
Bob said, 15 years of suppressed purpose, suppressed identity, all of it comes out of one throat. And honestly, he's lucky Bob only threw him through a wall and not out the window. Speaking of luck, May from Turning Red hasn't had much of it ever since she discovers she can transform into a red panda whenever she loses control of her emotions. And her crash out at Tyler's birthday party. I'm not saying turning into a giant red panda and terrorizing a kid at his birthday party is the ideal response. But let's actually break down what led to that moment. Tyler wasn't just teasing. He directly insults her family and her home, and that's intentional. That's meant to hurt. And let's not forget, he's been a bully the entire movie. He mocks Meg, embarrasses her in class, and makes fun of her at every opportunity. He's not some innocent kid. He literally blackmails her into showing up to his birthday party as the panda, holding the fact that he didn't tell her mom about the by the time May finds out the same night the family ritual her mom has been planning, she's already emotionally maxed out. Imagine being a teenager with the uncontrollable ability to turn into a giant red panda, juggling your mom's expectations, your friends' experiences, and full-on identity crisis while working nonstop to raise money for a concert. Then you're forced to attend the birthday party of the kid you hate most, only to realize the entire plan you were for is a yeah, I can. So, when May attacks Tyler after he insults her family, yes, it's extreme, but it's also the constant pressure piling up on the front. He doesn't just insult May, he insults her mom, her culture, her heritage. That's what the attack was something deeply personal. She was pushed past her limit. Honestly, you can't blame her for crashing out. If you actually watch the video, your reaction makes complete sense from every direction. Her mom expects perfection. Her friends expect loyalty. She expects herself to have everything figured out. And every intense emotion literally turns her into a giant animal. That's a lot. So when Tyler, who's been targeting her for weeks, decides to insult her family in public, yeah, she lost it. And the one who really lost it was Woody.
You
His meltdown at the gas station was the mutually justified movie history. When you really look at what led to this moment, it's clear Woody doesn't snap at Buzz just because he's the new favorite toy, although that is part of it. He breaks because he's overwhelmed by jealousy, fear, and desperation, right in the middle of an identity crisis. Think about it. For years, Woody has been Andy's favorite. That isn't just a perk, it's his entire sense of self. It gives him purpose. He's the leader of the one who loves first, the one who gets to sleep on the bed. So when Buzz shows up and takes that away, Woody doesn't just feel replaced. He feels like he no longer matters. Meanwhile, Buzz is living in a complete alternate level. He genuinely believes he's a real person. He He's delusional and everyone else is just entertained by it. Woody sees this clearly. And yeah, Woody shouldn't have tried to knock Buzz behind the desk, but when Buzz gets knocked out the window, it makes everything worse. To the other toys, Woody doesn't look jealous, he looks guilty. They think he did it on purpose. Everything falls apart at once. And on top of all that, Woody still has to go find Buzz to prove his innocence. By the time they reach the next station, Woody has been running on pure stress and anxiety for almost an entire week. He's been accused of murder by his friends. He's been separated from Andy, and now he's stuck with the one toy who caused all of this. And Buzz isn't helping.
You insecurity entire universe. What?
He truly believes he's a real space ranger. He doesn't even know he's a toy. He's not pretending for fun. He's delusional, and that delusion is active. Buzz refuses to accept reality, even when it's obvious they need to work together to be back to Andy. So when Woody finally snaps, that moment isn't just anger, it's desperation. He tried patience, he tried explaining, he tried logic. But it worked because Buzz was too deep in his fantasy to see. Woody is trying to slow. He knows they're running out of time, and Buzz's denial is the only thing standing in their way. Woody's crash out wasn't just valid, it was necessary. It was a honestly, Buzz needed to heal.
The core conspiracy, Alex Valid. I'm really cars coming forward, bro. So I can 100% fact check anything that he may or may not say. I can also add my own expertise on top of it because, like I said, I'm a cars after that. You expect me to believe that? Well, good. They're good. So, Cars is a weird franchise. It's an amazing franchise. Never refer to weird ever again. Okay, you're already using the Alex. The world in the Cars movies is like ours, except for the specific detail that everything is Cars. It's amazing. It's the only movies that are in the works. Premise for a movie franchise. It's weirder the more you think about it. Global warming go crazy in this world. Here are just a few things that everyone always loves to bring up. In Cars 2, we see a car pope riding in a sentient Pope-mobile. So Catholicism exists in this universe, which implies there is a Jesus Christ who died for both horses. There is a Cars PSA, which implies Cars probably. There is a World War II Cars. So this universe also probably had World War II. Figure and tragedy. And there has already been endless discussion about these movies. And the question that everyone loves to ask the most is, what exactly are cars? What a stupid question, because how could cars exist without humans? Everything about the way they look has clearly... I mean, humans exist before cars? Yeah, so why can't we designed by and for humans? I mean, what purpose do these tiny little coordinated but why am I couldn't put her his tongue on her door handle and think are what do you mean what is it there for? It could be from ancient evolution, bro. You know what I'm saying? Humans went through evolution where we had certain opinions we needed, but we grew out of it because we don't need them no more. You know what I'm saying? There's certain organ, I think there's an organ in our body, I think it's something in our body that we don't really use no more. That's what it is. Hopefully I didn't make it up. A lot of people believe that Cars takes place in some kind of post-apocalypse after all this time. Maybe there was an AI smart car uprising, or maybe somehow the humans became their cars, or whatever. And for years, people have debated this, and no one could agree on what the cars actually are. Say about it. The answer is actually pretty easy. Yeah, they're cars. They didn't think about it. Why can't that be in cars? And when I say everything, I mean everything. The animals in this universe are cars. The plants are cars. Oh, they have car plants? Literally, the mountains and clouds are car or vehicle shaped. This is not a world where just humans were cars. It's cars. Everything. Even the physical itself. That's what I was saying. Car shaped. That's what I was saying, though. Like, everything of all for just periodic cars that's been named to the automotive table of elements. And it's unfortunately too small and blurry to read, but there is a full-size version of it. this implies that even on an atomic level, elements themselves that make up this universe are also cautious. So I do not believe ever. Kind of like how we can see the golden ratio spiral everywhere in our worlds, or like how different animals are independently evolved into crabs because the crab shape is just so badass. Or we can
We all want to go on that return. So wow. Crab. What are we talking about?
creationism perspective and assume there is an all-powerful car god in the world with his image. We do know there is religion in this world, right? There has been a manufacturer in place of the word God. I forgot about that line in this movie, bro. Yeah, Nathan, out there, and they out. One of them didn't think that everything else anyway. I'm sorry for thinking me as a post-apocalyptic theory. It would look so it really covers all the stuff that everyone loves talking about parts movies. But the real reason I'm making this video is because there's still something that most Cars theories never talk about. Something that most theorists just pretend doesn't exist because it makes the weird and convoluted Cars franchise look in comparison.
One thing I don't like about some theories is that some theories will lean on thoughts that the creators themselves never had. So it's like a theory that can never be answered because the creator did not have that in mind. You know what I mean? And that sucks. It's like, dang, I put in all this effort, like thinking the very from top to bottom the whole entire and you didn't think as far as I thought you did. So now I've made this whole imagination full of things that isn't real because he didn't feel that.
No video. This is a theory about leaders called tales.
Oh yeah, its own individual series. I forgot there's a lot more plot in Cars I don't know because I don't watch the TV shows. Oh,
So weird franchise. But the weirdness is kind of contained to the fact
I love those in Lightning McQueen. I don't know why my favorite toy car was Lightning McQueen when I was growing up, bro. Oh my goodness, it was so hot. Oh my goodness, Lightning McQueen can be your king.
other than that, doing normal things for when it comes later Lightning McQueen's got
Prego.
he's kind of a dumb
Drunk. I know that his voice actor, like, I'm pretty sure his voice actor wasn't even voice acting. I forgot like his backstory, but like this guy wasn't even a voice actor. They just picked him up from somewhere. The way he was found, what he was found was very random. I can't remember a specific story about it.
who was born in Radiator Springs, or I guess maybe in a mansion. They kind of retconned it in the new Disney. And he's just a pretty normal guy. He was doing testing cops. He is learning the cop, except for the fact
Oh, brother.
that he keeps accidentally ending up in weird, impossible situations. Like
Right.
Cars 2, that the international spy.
Yeah.
By the Queen.
Yeah, is that a Rose?
And if you thought Cars 2 was a weird departure from the Cars franchise, well then prepare yourself for the insanity that is Vader's Tall Tales.
Mhm.
I need to be a fire truck. What?
That's a good queen. She looks so clean. Look at her.
Featured Vader telling everything, different convoluted stories from his life.
Yo, Vader is you're just like grandpa, bro. Just saying they did any.
Fire truck, or a race car. as aliens or literally time travelers. And obviously, you assume that these were all short stories, but yeah, tall tales.
Exactly.
Every episode, they're always proven to be true. Okay, but maybe these are just weird.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like,
What's really connected to
exactly. Because it's a size
well, in Cars 3, we can see a poster that proves that monster truck Vader.
Sorry, I did not see it. Am I tweaking or do I see nothing? What is he seeing when I'm not seeing?
If
Right. Right. I'm gonna give you that one, but you reaching it. That looks like a lot of belonging. You ask me. I'm not.
monster truck
Nah,
Vader
you gave me that one. The other cars behind is correct. Oh, this was a car stream behind the scenes.
actually
Oh,
Vader's had a chance to distance themselves from Vader's small tails, and instead they're officially canon. The most confusing thing that happens in all of these shorts is halfway through every episode when Lightning McQueen questions the stories. Jimmy, clever, you're canon. No way.
Yes, why? You sure did. What?
You really
you forgot.
that way. You sure did. Vader reveals that Lightning was also in all of these stories.
How does he forget everything?
Having no memory of being there.
Well, don't you remember me?
So, why does
Misha?
Lightning McQueen have
Oh, like I can see that, and I can see me.
the easiest explanation, but there's one small detail that contradicts it. In wallpaper, and later we of course revealed that Lightning McQueen was there too.
How the? Right. What is this about?
That doesn't
I'm ending it here. I think I'm going to
Why is he blue?
take a long break.
Is it he work for Danica?
It's definitely a weird game, but no, whatever. There's only one person watching. Thank you for watching, whoever it is, and see you next stream if you ever get on.
Before Lightning McQueen knew Vader before he saw Vader in Cars 1.